So in this section, we are going to look at Google's rich results, local SEO, and off-page SEO. So we see that sometimes when we search for factual information like time, date, weather, etc., we find some rich information in terms of Google providing the answer right on the search results. In those cases, we don't need to actually visit any of the listed websites, but the actual information that we are looking for is listed on the search engine results page itself. These are called rich results, and websites can implement this rich results by implementing structured data and telling the search engines that this particular website is containing facts or is containing instructions on how to create a top knot, or is an event information website that is talking about concerts in Chicago. And that's how, if it's a quality website and if search engine likes your website, then your website will certainly be listed in the search engine results page as rich results. Local SEO, at times we see that some of the searches that we do, and we see a map in the top, and beneath the map we see a pack of 3 listings. In those cases, Google is displaying local search results. So if a business is selling a product or a service that has a local application, it is very important for that business to claim its Google My Business listing. In the example shown over here, this is a cafe. So this cafe has not claimed its business listing. But if you claim your business listing, and you can control your address, your opening hours, your phone number, and your customers will also come and review your business, which will motivate new customers to buy from you. And it is always good to bear in mind that 46% of total searches are local searches, and businesses who have claimed their business Google My Business listing benefit hugely from this such listings. In this scenario where we share everything, we like on Facebook, we like on the content of the website, it is very important for us and for websites to get more sharing, more likes, and more comments. It is because search engines value those sites more and rank those sites highly that have more likes and more content shares. And in our browsing, day-to-day browsing, we see these prompts from different websites: share our content, like our content. It is because if we share their content on social media, Google will, or other search engines will, deem that as valuable and give them a higher rank. And as shown over here, it is very important in the search communities or social communities, networking communities that we have in the industry, like Women in Tech SEO or Search London. So these communities are built around networking, and they enhance and promote social sharing and social promoting each other. It could be new entrepreneurs, or it could be existing content of websites. I hand over to Sophie now.
So voice search is a relatively new kind of thing which has been increasing with the kind of rise of smart assistants on phones, and now with voice in-home voice devices such as the Google Nest or the Alexa systems. So at the moment, voice search is growing really fast. Uptake is quite high with people having multiple devices in their home. And as we saw earlier, when you have rich results with snippets at the top that pull out information to give an answer to a query, is these kind of questions that people are asking. If you can create content that answer questions about your service or your product, then you'll be able to set up a page which includes details about frequently asked questions. You can mark it up using structured data to show Google that this information is frequently asked questions. And because mainly people that are using search devices, using voice searches, they are asking questions or giving statements, it really likes to pull out these questions and pull in information from these structured data FAQ boxes. So I just wanted to look a bit more into what kind of the different aspects of technical SEO are. So as we mentioned right at the beginning about how search engines work, they need to be able to crawl and find the website pages on your website to then be able to put it in the index and then serve it to users. So technical SEO looks at how easy or hard is it for Google to crawl your site. So we look at stuff like, is the site mobile friendly? Is it optimized for smartphones? Is it optimized for speed? Because generally people on a mobile device are not willing to wait, and people are generally using mobile internet, which can take a bit longer. Of course, we're kind of catching up now as to it getting faster, but also at the same time, page sizes are getting bigger. So as people try to put more content on them. So we need to look at how is the site loaded in? Are there other pages that have the same content on there? Because if you have 5 different pages with similar content, then it's really difficult for Google to understand which page actually answers a query out of these 5 identical versions it has. So it also looks at whether your site is secure. So do you go to the site, is it using a HTTPS, which is the secure version over HTTP? So that's make sure that users are safe when using your site and that any information isn't going to get lost. And looking at that security thing, is there lots of, when you're actually on the site, is there any obstacles to people reading the content, as in, is there pop-ups? Is the data all smooth? Does the page load as expected? Are there going to be any surprises when the user gets on the page? And as well, looking at kind of, does the page actually have the URL? Does it make sense to a human? If you're going to share a page, would you rather share something which is a /ABC, it has numbers, dates, or would you rather, click on a URL that has an actual keyword of the thing that you're looking for? So just making sure that the site looks like it's usable to someone. So to be able to check whether your website is mobile friendly, Google does offer a free tool that you can check that. So it's the mobile friendly test. So you can have a look and it will give you a yes or no to say whether the page is mobile friendly or not. So whether it's easy to use a mobile device, so it will look at things like, is the font size large enough? Is there enough space around like buttons, so that if you hit it with your finger, that there's enough space to that press gets correctly passed by the site itself. Because it's really frustrating, I don't know for me, for anyone else, but when you're trying to close a pop-up and the X doesn't seem to quite work if you're 2 millimeters away from the cross. Obviously that's super irritating. We don't want to be pressing on that, we want to close it. But the same's for anything on a web page. Do you have enough space to actually click on the button and to do the expected thing for you? So we also look into, there's plenty of other tools that Google give you to test the mobile friendliness of a site. So this is Page Speed Insights. So at the moment, Google will be looking at various areas of the site speed and giving either users a signal or basically judging how well your site loads against these 4 kind of key areas. So the first contentful paint, so this is how fast does it load up? Is all of the viewable content available? How quickly does this load for users? And then you've got first input delay, so how quickly can you complete an action? So for example, how quickly, if you want to go to another page, how quickly does that button work? And then we've got the largest contentful paint, so that is when the whole page has loaded. And you've also got cumulative layout shift. So this is where content moves on the page when you're trying to click it. So this is all in aid of trying to improve the user experience. So for example, cumulative layout shift, I think everyone's seen this with kind of pop-ups or banners where something starts loading, you'll start to click on a button or, you know, add to basket or something like that, and the button then moves down further down the page and disappears and you hit nothing. Or if you're using other websites, you may have accidentally put something into your basket, or you may complete an action that you weren't intending to do, which obviously that's quite a bad user experience if everything keeps moving when you're kind of ready and trying to complete an action. So Google's looking at these types of user experience signals and then can give you information on why it's so fast or slow, for example, give you a score, and then you'll be able to look into the exact reasons why your site may not be performing as well, because user experience is such a big kind of signal when it comes to being able to view a website, in terms of Google being able to view it and index it, and for the actual satisfaction of a user when they visit your page. Google does not want to give a user search results that they then go on and have a bad experience. Google wants you to be able to find information quickly and it to be the right information, and it to be a breeze to be able to get through that whole process and not be frustrating. So yeah, there are other signals that we look at. So technical is generally on page. So then you've got off page SEO, which is stuff you can do that is not on your website personally in order to improve the ranking. So generally we're looking at link building and posting blogs, you know, creating information that other people want to link to, making sure that your brand appears elsewhere on the web so people know that you're a real entity that's talked about. So yeah, over to Julia to talk about more about backlinks.
Cool, thank you, Sophie. So we already touched quickly on backlinks when we spoke about the different elements of SEO, and backlinks are the most important thing when it comes to off-page SEO. So you want other websites on the web to link to your website. It is a direct ranking factor still. You also get traffic from these websites. If somebody sees the link, clicks on it through to your website, that is traffic. It helps building the brand and so on. So there are many other advantages just from improving your rankings. And we have here on the right side 2 types of backlinks: a do follow and a no follow link. I think there comes another slide a bit later where we talk about these in a bit more detail, because this also has changed a bit over time. So there are things like blog comments that can be a backlink. Links on social media are important. They don't have that much value in terms of improving your rankings, but it is brand awareness and it is traffic that you get to your website. But social media is not a direct impact on SEO. It's more like the whole environment that it impacts. Then there can be links in forum posts like Quora, Reddit, on Medium, Although with these links a decade ago, those were great for SEO. By now, Google kind of has become aware that it is too easily manipulated, because everybody can just start posting on Quora or other open forums and add links there. So they're still good to have for brand awareness and for clicks. But for SEO directly, Google kind of gives these links a bit less value than other links, because it knows that it can be manipulated. Yeah, links in press releases, certain blogs, news sites. There are hundreds of types out there where you can get links from. Next slide, please. Yes, so the nofollow links. It is in SEO in general, you hear it quite often. Oh, we don't want a nofollow link. We want it to be a follow link. No, nofollow is worth nothing. That is not entirely true. And Google also moves gradually away from that distinction. They have said about, I would say 6 months ago, that nofollow is now something, it's like an indication to Google, but there's not that big of a difference between a follow and a nofollow link anymore. Nofollow link originally meant that somebody links to your website, but it doesn't want the crawler to follow that link and crawl your website. To me, that never made much sense in the first place, because if I link to a website, I want to link to it because it's good content. If I say, yeah, I link to it, but please don't go there, why do I link to it in the first place? And lots of big authoritative websites like Forbes, for example, they have moved to making all their outbound links nofollow by default. So you can ask Forbes for a link to your website, and it will be a nofollow link either way. And this is Google has become aware of that, and in my opinion, nowadays it does not make that big of a difference anymore if it's a follow or a no follow link. And if you are looking at your overall backlink profile, you want a good mix of both. Because if your backlink profile is only follow links, that is unnatural. And this is the most important thing I always say when it comes to backlinks and link building. It needs to look natural, and it needs to make sense and be relevant. And then if we can go to the next slide, please. Paid links. This is also a big topic in SEO all the time, and this is where the whole discussion comes from. There are many websites out there that are built with the purpose to sell links. This is how these businesses are making money. And other websites who think that it's good for their SEO, who think, yes, we need many backlinks, so let's just pay for them and we get them. It's the easiest way. Costs a bit of money. Used to work until Google updated the algorithm by something that we call the Penguin update. And now, I mentioned it before, Google is moving away from links as the main ranking factor to judge quality of a website, because Google knows that people are still paying for links. There are other things out there like PBNs, that's a private blog network, where a company builds a network of websites that is purely there to link to each other. These websites don't make money in any other way. They're just getting money from others who want a link from them. And it used to be what we call a Penguin penalty, so that if you're caught for paying for links, your website would basically get taken off Google's index if Google becomes aware of it. By now, it's not so much a penalty anymore. It is more like these links just don't have any value. So you might have just wasted £500, £1,000 on a link that does not bring you any value, because that website is anyways seen as not authoritative, because Google knows they're selling links. That website might not get any real traffic that could click through your website, and you might just get yourself basically in a bad neighborhood on the web. So paid links are, in my opinion, just not worth it. And Google has introduced these two signals that we see down here. So apart from just a rel nofollow, there is now something called a rel sponsored. And that is basically if you put a guest post on another website and you pay for this, it is seen as advertising. because this is essentially what it is. And this gets the rel sponsor tag. Rel UGC stands for user-generated content. So those are those forum links or comment links that you can put, or that anybody can just put on a website. And most forum owners have also made those links by default rel UGC, so that Google knows what it is. And the thing with paid links is Google does not know that there was money involved. How would it? But Google looks at, is this link natural? Does it make sense to have this link here? Why is this writer, this author, linking to your website and not to one of your competitors? What do you provide that justifies this link? This is what Google essentially looks at. And the moment it looks unnatural or shoehorned, I say this looks like a paid link. Over to the next slide, please. How do you get backlinks then if you're not supposed to pay for them? Well, there is the already mentioned guest blogging. So this can be seen as like a partnership between two blog websites where somebody writes about it. Like I had, for example, recently someone writing on my travel blog who had been surfing in Australia, and she said, hey, if you don't have any content about surfing in Australia, but about other surf destinations, can I write something for your website? So it's a collaboration. And these things are okay as long as, it is relevant, the content fits in with this website, and there is a reason for this content to be there other than somebody paid for it. Outreach to journalists and bloggers. This is also what we call digital PR. And this is the biggest thing now to get backlinks. I think there's another slide for this later. And infographics is another way which kind of ties in with digital PR and outreach. If we could go to the next slide, please. Yes, the guest blogs. We have here some examples how you can find websites that accept guest posts. You can try it yourself, it still works. I'm not a big fan of those websites that put the write for us there, because in most cases they want money for it. If they make it that obvious that you can write for them. It is more like, for example, what I do with the travel blog. I go to networking events. I meet other travel bloggers and we see where do we overlap? Where do I have maybe written about a travel destination that the other person could not go to? How can we collaborate in that way? And again, very important, if you use these techniques to find other websites where you could put a guest blog on, make really sure they're good websites, good quality, they have some authority, and that it is relevant. If your blog is not about chocolates, then why would you write something on a chocolate-related website? Then the next slide, please. This is just an email template. You can use that if you want to. It's a textbook example. You should always personalize these emails, come up with your own ways. This is literally just an example of how such an email could look like. Always make sure if you reach out to someone that you have actually had a look at their website, that you can reference, hey, I've seen you've written about this great thing last week. I have something similar here. Things like that, and don't just use the same template with everybody, because people will just not like you for that. Next slide, please. Yes, outreach, digital PR. This is growing and growing and growing. There are also many agencies out there who are specialized in just that. So basically to create marketing campaigns that earn other websites backlinks. And how this works is they create really great content for that website, content that is not easy to replicate and that cannot easily be found out there yet. That can be things that are backed by data, surveys that you might have run, or maybe market insights that your business has that others don't have, that you would like to share with the world. But it needs to be something that is newsworthy, interesting, and people actually want to write about it and also read about it. And if you have created this type of content, you can then basically send it out to journalists, to other bloggers that have written about similar topics, to see if they're interested in covering your study that you've run, your white paper, your infographic, whatever that is. Maybe you've conducted a great interview with an expert in your industry that should be shared more. And they then reshare it on their website, link to you, reshare it on social media, and so on. And how you find these, Twitter is a great resource. There are also constantly journalists on Twitter actually looking to speak to experts or trying to find somebody who has particular insights into their topic for something they're working on. So follow the hashtags that are relevant for your industry, see who is talking about these topics. Is there anything coming up that you can say something about? And so on. Yeah, then next slide. There's just another template again, especially with journalists. They get 200 emails an hour. They're totally overwhelmed. They have to write 10 to 15 articles per day. They need to catch what you want to say in the subject. So your subject line needs to be convincing that they even open your email. And then get in the email, get to the point, list the most important results of your study, catch their attention so that they actually want to read on and also want to click through to your study to see is this something they might want to republish. Make it as easy as possible for them, because they don't have time. They want your content, but only if they can gauge within a second that it is worth looking at. Next slide, please. Yes, the infographics that goes along with the outreach. So for example, you have conducted a survey or run a study, collected a lot of data over time. And in an infographic, you are basically trying to display this information in an easy way. You make it visual so that people can see the results of your study. Instead of looking at a massive Excel table, they see a nice graph that shows how many % of the population have done this and that. Yeah, then you find these other websites like journalists, bloggers that have written about similar topics that might be interested in that. Send them an outreach email with maybe a nice press release. Again, a press release depends on what topic it is. Is it worth putting a press release out, or does a short email do the job? Depends on the exact case. And then they basically can republish your infographic, write some content around it, and link to you as the source of information, as the one who provided the data that is in the infographic. This is how it works. Sounds easy in theory. In the practical part, there are many things where this can go wrong. So already your original idea, before you even start collecting the data, make sure it is something interesting that is worth talking about. And yeah, there's just another email template just to give you an idea how this can look. And I cannot say it often enough, and it sounds like a broken record, but personalize these emails. Make sure you know what you're talking about. And that's it for me. And then back to Bunny.
These are the references used for the slides. And here are the contact details of the guest speakers. And you should contact with them on LinkedIn, follow them on Twitter, email them should you need to. They are very good, very supportive. So make sure you reach out to them and ask them questions. They'll be more than willing to help you.